Are we recording?
We're rolling.
Speaking of Fourth Amendment rights,
What?
what did we do today, Shane?
I don't know.
Motion to suppress granted.
Oh.
Department 25.
You can talk about it more.
We will. Welcome to Tangled Rights. This is Justin W. Wilson.
Shane D. Cox. This is episode 57.
What's your middle name?
N.
Gary N. Hardy,
Damn.
visitor.
Why are you here, Gary?
I'm here because I won second place, baby.
Okay, so we had a little giveaway we talked about for our 1 year anniversary, and Franny, which is Marujo, should I name him full name? Franny. He's a faithful
Social
listener.
Security.
He's a good friend of Austin. I met him
Blood type.
when we were helping Austin move. He won first place, and he didn't choose to be on this podcast.
What a
so
fucking
he's an
loser.
idiot. I gave him the choice.
Shit.
He chose this
Sorry,
pair,
Mr. Cox.
this pair of AirPods Max that is sitting right here. AirPods Max. That's a weird name. AirPods Max.
Why wouldn't it just be AirPod?
I don't know.
Dude,
Because
these are
there's
kind
two
of
of
nice.
them. It's like $500. So
Why didn't I get these?
we can buy you a pair if you want.
Nah, I'm good. I need to go.
All right. Well,
By
there's
Dre.
made by Apple as well.
Also.
So, there's
made by
AirPods Max, number one winner. Number two winner, still a winner, is Gary.
Still got the sticker on it, though. This is how you know it's real.
Yeah,
Or at least,
I just got it from Best Buy,
hell yeah.
which I go to Best Buy. I went to Best Buy today. We talked about that recently.
Nice. I went to Best Buy to go get a TF card for my that PARD thermal scope I got. Turns out TF is not actually anything. It's an SD card. It's all the same.
Okay.
But it's like a branded. It's like, dude.
But
why-
normal SD cards
Yeah,
work.
normal
It
SD
doesn't
card.
have to be formatted or anything.
No. Okay. So real quick, we were just talking about a Fourth Amendment case out of Utah where the Utah, what circuit are they in?
I don't know. And I don't know if it was the Utah Supreme Court. And I can look it up.
Okay.
So talk about your thing and I'll look it up.
So we had a case where a client of mine was on a motorcycle and had committed some traffic infractions. No big deal. We never debated that. In my motion work, I actually acknowledged it, and the state kind of hung their hat on it as if that was dispositive. It's not. They pull my guy over. He has what's called a tire checker. So for people that do CDL work, semi-tires are huge, way bigger than a car tire. So when they do their pre-trip inspection, they have to check the pressure. Well, the way to do that is to smack the side of the tire, but you need something large enough to create enough pressure. Like just kicking it, maybe it would work, but you're more likely going to hurt your foot than just be able to check the tire. And so he has a tire checker set on the front side of his motorcycle. The cop calls it a billy club, which is illegal to have, but a billy club is a very specific thing. It's either the kind that the police have as an asp or like the old style, like Harry Carey, the Irish cop walking around with his nightstick. Interestingly enough, in the preliminary hearing, he specifically says that he doesn't submit those charges. What does that mean? It tells me that his subjective intent is really that it wasn't actually a billy club. It was just using it as a pretext to get my guy off the bike. Anyway, he testifies that my guy takes about 30 seconds to get off the bike when he's commanded to. Oh, backstory, sorry. He pulled over right away. He pulled over into a Walmart parking lot on a motorcycle. So there's a case that the police use sort of as pretext to get people out of cars called Pennsylvania versus Mims, Penn v. Mims. And in the Penn v. Mims case, they said that it's okay to pull a driver and a passenger out of a car for a couple of reasons. One, because being inside of a car, you could conceal your movements. And the de minimis intrusion of just pulling you out of the vehicle and putting you on the side of the road instead of, operating from inside the vehicle to outside the vehicle doesn't really infringe on your liberty that much. And it does protect the person and the officer quite a bit more because everybody's out in the open. And you can see what everybody's doing. The other thing was that when they're on the side of the road, there's danger to the officer, which is why a lot of times you'll see the officer approach on the other side of the vehicle. Smart. No problem with that. That all makes a lot of sense. My argument was that this is not the same as Penn v. Mims because he's not in a car. And he pulled into a parking lot, so you don't have those issues. He couldn't even get him off the bike. I said that was unconstitutional in and of itself. The court didn't really touch on that as much, but what they did touch on was that after he gets him off the bike, he felt like he needed to search my guy because he had a sticker on his helmet, a sticker on his motorcycle, and a patch on his vest. Those patches identify organization with a motorcycle club. He was saying, I know these motorcycle clubs to be dangerous, therefore I needed to frisk him. Well, a Terry frisk, so this is the weird thing about this Fourth Amendment. You get into a lot of overlapping law and then law that follows subsequently. The Terry frisk, in that case, there's a guy casing a jewelry store. The cop can see it across the street. He's like coming out of an alley. He walks around, he looks, he goes back. So in that situation, it looks like he's about to rob a jewelry store. And he goes up to find out, hey, what are you doing, man? And in that situation, the cop pats him down. He can feel the guy. So in Terry, they said they have a reasonable suspicion to believe that a crime has either been committed or is about to be committed, and the cop can pat you down for safety if he thinks you might be armed. Well, it's reasonable to say someone who's about to rob a jewelry store might have a gun. In this instance, there's no subsequent crime that's going to be committed. Even if you're allowed under Penn v. Mims to get him off the bike, you can't then pat him down. You can't. You simply can't. He did. We filed the motion. We ended up getting it granted. It was a great day. There's a lot of overlap there. And then in your case, it was what they were playing.
Dude, I can't find it at all. I can't find it, but I'm positive this happens in law sometimes. You're like, hey, look up this case.
Well, also, if it's unpublished.
I can't find it. It might have been an unpublished case. That might be the case. It was basically somebody had been pulled over and they were listening to Mormon Tabernacle choir music.
I use that stuff to get hype.
And that was, yeah, okay. And that was one of the things the cop mentioned for his basis for searching the vehicle, okay, after a stop. And the appellate court, whoever they were, said specifically, okay, listening to a certain kind of music you're like, overcompensating is what the cop said, is obviously overcompensating.
There must be crimes.
That is not.
Who else would listen to this shit?
That is not.
Sorry, Corey.
That is not
Mr. Cox. Sorry.
A basis for a search. It's not a basis for a search. I don't think you can consider what kind of music anybody's listening to as a basis for a search. There might be something.
Decibel level.
Yeah, okay. All right. No,
if you're listening to Mormon Tabernacle music so loud that you're shaking windows at 11 o'clock at night in a residential area,
it could be a nuisance.
I guarantee you can. But again, you're still getting into the situation. If you pull them over and they shut their car off, the violation has stopped. It's not further conduct, right? So, and the judge, I thought it was perfect. She highlighted that each individual section requires its own analysis. Same thing I say to people when I talk about DUI. Do they have a reason to pull you over? Yes. Do they have a reason to get you out of the car? Yes. Do they have a reason to make you do the tests? Yes. Do they have a reason then from the tests to make you do the blood draw? Each one is its own microcosm. Yes, they're all connected, but each one requires a separate analysis. Because pulling you over for violating noise ordinance, great. Now I need to search you. For what? What reasonable suspicion do you have to believe that a crime is going to be committed? You look inside the car and see a can of gas and a bunch of torches that are set up but not on fire. Like you can see that in plain view, and some signs that say something political or talking like anti-abortion clinic or something. And the abortion clinic's right over there. Yeah, I get to search you. Why? Because it looks like you're about to go commit arson, right? And I just made some BS up, right? But
everything you could make up has actually happened.
Sure.
So in some district somewhere.
But also that's the thing. Like, it's a reasonable suspicion that a crime is going to be committed. Any crime. It could be murder. It could be tax fraud. It could be arson. It could be jaywalking, right? If I've got a little map drawn out that says, where am I going to go jaywalk next? Technically, that's a violation, right? That's a misdemeanor. It's an arrestable offense. But the point is that they have to be able to break it down and give you a reasonable suspicion to believe that a crime is going to be committed. It can't simply be a hunch. That's like so it goes probable cause, reasonable suspicion. And then when you look at the case law, the thing that they talk about is that hunch. That je ne sais quoi, like a feeling the cop has something's going to happen. Yeah, well, that's not real. That's made up. Why do you feel that way? Because that's your job.
They can't say gut feeling, yeah.
Correct.
That's not admissible in court.
And the thing that the court talks about, the reason you need the neutral and detached magistrate to do things like get search warrants is because, and I recall this from a case we read in law school, and the analogy is good. The cop, not that they're animals, I want to be very clear here, it's like a bird dog. Bird dog's job is to catch birds. A cop's job is to police, prevent, and interdict crime that's happening, right? So that's their job. They are out there. They're in a very dangerous environment. I understand that, but they see things in a different way than like the neutral and detached person who is looking at things from that third person omniscient viewpoint, supposedly.
It's not omniscient.
It's not. Well, you know what I mean, but also they're not really detached.
A different POV. Yeah.
Different POV. And I can appreciate that, but that's why we have these mechanisms, right? And today justice prevailed. And I filed the order. The state finally commented on it. They have nothing to add. Order looks good. And I expect here soon I'm going to be getting an email saying the state's voluntarily dismissing the case because they violated his rights, right? And here's the real kicker that's going to throw a lot of people off, and this is the problem that some people have with this. He had committed a crime. If you're looking at black letter of the law, he'd committed a crime. But they only figured that out by violating the constitutional rights. Those come first. They don't come from the government. They come from the universe, our creator, God, Yahweh, whatever. And the government upholds those, protects them with that constitutional framework. And so you can't get to the discovery without the violation. And therefore, it's what they call fruit of the poisonous tree. It's the bad apple that we should never have eaten.
Yeah, you're intermingling
Whatever, I make
lots
stuff
of
up.
religion and stuff there.
God
That's
wills it.
That's okay. I mean, it's whatever. A lot of our
You don't think that that's an analogy for that? Fruit of the poisonous tree?
no,
I don't know.
kind of.
I mean, because original sin, right? I don't know. I always thought
I
that
don't
was,
think so.
I don't know. I always thought it was
I
kind of
think
tied
it's
together.
just like it doesn't matter the result if you're
if you got it from a bad way. No,
yeah,
I understand.
What's the other? I don't know what does.
I don't know. But I always kind of thought of it as like
Bad
something
apple.
like original sin, right? Because whatever. Anyway,
All
I was
right.
following for a different reason of like, it's given to you and you can't have it.
sure. Yeah, 100%. I don't know. Didn't know. I just always thought of it that way. But also, I'm also kind of stupid, right? So
We need to simplify things here.
yeah.
All right. So we wanted to talk about a TikTok post that we made
Okay.
from
Oh,
Austin. Austin makes our videos now 2 weeks ago, and he does a great job. He does an okay job. But if you only listen to clips, like short little clips from a full video, sometimes you don't get a full context.
Correct.
So we advised people just hand over your ID. We were talking about driving instances. We were watching 3 videos of people driving and refusing to hand over their license, which is dumb. There's a whole different context when you're just out on the street and handing over ID. They do need reasonable suspicion to ID you, which is, cops ask for your ID all the time, but it has to be an order.
Yeah.
So there is a distinction
A
there.
lawful order, which to be a lawful order, it has to come with the reasonable
It
suspicion.
has to be a lawful order, but the cops don't know at the time whether they're giving an unlawful
Correct.
or lawful order.
This is the part we need to clip.
So
So the thing here is that it's always a cost-benefit analysis, right? And no two situations are the same. If you are pulled over for a traffic infraction, at that point, you have to give your ID,
even if you disagree,
even if you disagree.
you have to give it because the cop has his version. Saw you cross a line, saw you speed, whatever.
Yep.
Got to give your driver's license or else you're going to jail.
Yep.
You're
And
going to jail.
Potentially going to get hemmed up, maybe beaten a little bit, whatever. But the bigger thing is when you're out walking and a cop walks up to you and says, "Hey, is that a gun in your back pocket?" And it's very clearly a blind person's cane. "I need your ID." You can say no. You are legally allowed to say no. But it is a cost-benefit analysis at that point. Me personally, I would say no at that point.
I'd say no. Am I free to go?
Yeah.
Am I being
If
detained?
they say no, I'm still not going to give them my ID. I'm going to be like, "You're going to have to take it from me. You want to put me in cuffs? Fine. I'm not going to resist, but I'm not going to comply because that's an unlawful order and it's very far afield from what they're allowed to do." That being said, if I'm on my way to something that's important, right? Let's say I was walking across to go to court and I got a very serious hearing in there and this cop's about to violate my rights. I'm going to give him my ID. Why? Because if I don't, I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to miss this important thing. So that's why I say it's a cost-benefit analysis. I understand that they are wrong, but sometimes people are wrong, but I put my ego aside, the lack of desiring to be correct, which I do a lot. I want to be right. That's the job. We want to be winners, right? We're not losers. That's not what we breed over here at Cox and Wilson. Okay? Some firms are losers. We're not.
Nice.
Clipping that. No, but you have to decide what is more important to me in this moment. It's kind of like anything. You're married, right?
Yeah.
Just sometimes you want, potentially you see a disagreement coming with your wife or you got kids?
Yeah.
Disagreement with your kids?
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
It's the same thing. It's the same cost benefit analysis.
It's the
for
same
sure.
thing, but it applies to life.
But
And
I
that's what
have to be right.
And that's what we were trying to
And
say.
then I have to go to jail for the night.
yeah.
And then I have a good claim.
Or you get shot and you die
Or that.
because that happens. Not that cops are all murderers. That's not what I'm saying. That also doesn't mean I'm bootlicking. What was the
We're gonna
username?
read I'm gonna read a lot of these comments because they went ham on us.
Dude, we love the engagement. By all means, call me a bootlicker, but I'm not one. If you listen to the actual podcast, you know that I kind of detest the state. I'm not quite a narco-capitalist, but I'm just on that side of it. Libertarian.
All right, I'm gonna read some of these. How about the Fourth Amendment? You can't just stop someone and make them ID themselves.
No
The-
shit.
The exception of
Sorry,
a very
Mr. Cox.
few states, you have to have reasonable, articulable suspicion of a crime. not investigating a crime, you have to believe a crime is about to be committed or has been committed by that person.
Didn't I literally say that in that clip?
Okay.
Right before it? Like
because Austin,
No, but I
he
used
cuts
the
it out.
I used the word. I used the phrase reasonable articulable suspicion.
I don't think it's in there. You don't need ID to investigate a crime. Texas has ID only during an arrest, and they're able to function. People arguing to just comply have no clue that every time your ID, name, address, etc. is ran, it is placed in a database and referenced over and over again. I don't know about that.
I got an idea for the next podcast. I'm gonna make us some hats. There'll be instances where we can put the hats on.
The tinfoils.
Shh, don't ruin it.
We
all know what I'm talking about. I'm making some fucking tinfoil hats.
If we don't exercise our rights, we lose them.
That's true.
Like, you waive them temporarily. We're not losing. You're never going to lose your Fourth Amendment rights.
Get out of here.
Those exist. Like,
Utah v. Shrife.
you can waive them for yourself in that instance.
I understand. But what I think they're trying to say there is you have to push back and ensure that they're upheld, or else you will deal with a slippery slope, which we are currently dealing with.
Shut up, bootlickers.
That's literally a comment.
Yes.
Love that. The Weed Out podcast.
He's an abolitionist. I don't come to this conclusion lightly. Abolish the police and its bootlickers.
Oh, okay. All right. Abolish the police.
I was wearing the cop shirt in this one, so that's
stupid.
This one says, "Do not listen to these redcoat sympathizers."
They don't know us at all. Hide through the window is a good way to keep incriminating odors away from the nose of local PD.
ID.
Yeah, ID through the window. Yeah, but they have a right to take you out of your car. So how are you going to... All right.
And there's another case in Nevada that says that the traffic stop is good enough in and of itself. So it takes away some of the probable cause stuff. But in that case, they were able to pull the guy out of the car because they saw a knife right inside the car, which I argued was distinguishable with our case because even if you view the tire checker as a billy club, it's this big. It's not a concealable small thing, which if I see one concealable small weapon, it's possible you have another one. You can't then make the argument that if I see one thing that could be a tool or a weapon, that you must have a gun.
But they're just bootstrapped. Like that wasn't the real reason.
Either way.
Okay, a video came out just about 22 hours ago. This attorney that's got an amazing YouTube channel. The civil rights lawyer. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is in Edgewater, Florida. We'll have to clip in some of this video. Super interesting. It's a guy who, after the fact, comes out, but the cops seem to know at the time. He works at CVS. He's getting an Uber home after work. So he's sitting outside work, just waiting for his Uber home. And the Edgewater police officer determines that he looks shady, right? He looks suspicious. Okay.
Is he?
He's in a hoodie.
Is he WWB?
What does that mean?
Waiting while black?
No, he's white. I think he's a white kid.
Huh. He's white.
He's a white kid.
He's WWW.
He's a white kid.
Dot getting tased.
So this officer Rippion.
Before I forget, can I ask him a question since he's our local non-lawyer? What do you think about situations like that? What I was just describing, where the cops did ultimately find that a law had been broken, but they did it in a way where they violated the Constitution. Do you think that that's good or fair, or what are your opinions on situations like that? Not necessarily this one, but generally speaking, because that could apply to anything. They could have found a severed head in a bag, and the same result would have happened.
What's funny is as I was going through that, I always think about the cost benefit analysis. So I'm always I'm always in a hurry. Like, we live in a world where it's like we want instantness. You know what I mean? So typically, I'm always just like, yeah, even if they're breaking my laws, I'm like, here you go. But
you're a pretty square dude with nothing to hide, right?
True. However,
McCarthy.
When I was hearing that, I agree that even if they found something that was illegal, they did it wrong.
Okay. So if we say that's the way that these things pan out, that evidence gets suppressed and they can't proceed anymore with prosecution for that particular crime, you're okay with that as long as the way that they got to the evidence was a violation of their constitutional rights.
The reason is because having looked, as a non-lawyer with my little bit of, knowledge that I have and having studied some of the laws, whatever, they've gone through so much that I feel like let's stick with those until they get better.
Sure. No, and that's fair. And I wasn't challenging. I'm just trying to expand on your reason because it is important.
Yeah.
And I think this is good for people that, because a lot all 12 of our viewers, 4 of them are attorneys, right? So 4 of them see this stuff on a regular basis. The other 8 are lay people, but it's interesting to get a different perspective on it sometimes. So thank you for that. All right, back to.
Okay, so Officer Ripion, I see this in a lot of videos I watch. Their cops say that they're investigating suspicious activity. Okay, and they'll ask for an ID. So this is the distinction. Suspicious activity is not a crime. Okay, if they don't reasonably believe you're committing a crime, or in Nevada we have about to commit a crime, okay, then they cannot ID you. It's hard to distinguish in that moment. And what I commented back on some of these people is,
did you engage?
I engaged 100%. Oh, I engaged hard. Let's say I walk out and they say, 6 foot white male, 30s, white shirt, is committing a crime. So if they stop me and they ask to ID me, they have reasonable suspicion based on identification that looks like me that I should ID myself and clear myself. They don't have to explain to you. There's no requirement in most states that they have to tell you what you're being pulled over for, being detained for, or whatever. Usually the cops will, because they are trained to keep situations calm as well, But if they're suspecting me of like murder and running away, they're not going to tell me, because then I know that they know and I'll just continue running. So there are times when you got to ID. There are times when you shouldn't, but sometimes you don't know. All right, so with this Ripion guy, this is a guy who's working at CVS. He's outside of it 7 minutes after the store closes. And he's sitting and waiting for his Uber, Lyft, whatever, Lyft driver. And the cops start to talk about suspicious activity.
For 7 minutes? Get out of here. AKA you see somebody.
They see a hoodie. Okay, this just happens May 10th. This is super recent.
What city is it in?
This is in Clearwater, Edgewater, which is near Tampa. So Tampa's got a ton of cities, Tampa area. So he's out there and he ends up getting arrested. Okay, gets arrested and threatened to be tased and bitten by the police canine. Okay, he's taken to jail despite the fact that he's just sitting out there, no duty to ID in this instance. Okay,
Partly cloudy that day, around 75 degrees.
That's
potential rain.
A hoodie.
Could wear a hoodie.
Not bad.
Skinny guy, whatever.
Sure,
it's not like it's 900 degrees. No, I looked it up because
some
context
people
matters.
Some people wear hoodies and
some people
hot
do.
weather.
They're
I don't-
sweaty people. They're weird. Don't sweat all over the place,
in
guys.
Florida. So this is Officer Ripion, takes him to jail, absolutely for no reason whatsoever.
ID card. Something with your name on it.
That's my ride. I'm gonna go ahead and go.
No, you're not.
I didn't break any laws, sir. So
Stop, dude. You can make an emergency, please. I got one resisting.
I work here, sir. I just got off work.
I want to just clip in. There's another video somebody posted of Officer Ripion who arrested somebody just for asking him some questions.
Like what kind of question? Like what direction is the
Yeah,
CVS?
what are you doing? Like, what's going on? He's one of those auditors. I watch a lot of these
I love the
First Amendment
that walk up
auditors.
to him. No, I'm asking the questions. You see that one he does it to that detective? And he's like, have you been drinking? You're just off your lunch. Were you drinking at work?
There's
He's like,
one.
no, you go back inside. He's like, no, you leave. He's like, I'm not gonna. You're gonna leave.
They're in the roadway, my friend.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. Learn the law. You can stop in the roadway.
Car behind you.
There was no car behind me. It's recorded on my damn car. I pushed the button right when you did that.
Dude, I really don't want to argue.
All right,
I'm just tired right now. My dog's tired.
you're
so-
tired. You've been looking for someone.
Yeah.
If you see a Tesla gray one, don't even acknowledge me. It's like the whole thing to do is I'm out here getting footage
Dude,
from
I'm just
news.
walking the dogs and we're trying to. I don't know if we're gonna shoot across the street or anything.
My
you know
car
what I'm
doesn't.
saying?
My car doesn't emit any
I'm
emissions.
just saying, if any dogs need to shoot across the street, that's it.
I was stopped. You said you affirmed that I was stopped. I was just stopped in the middle of the road. There was
Bro, I
no
don't
line.
want to argue with you.
Well, don't.
Car behind you.
There was no car behind me.
Car behind you. Car behind you. Car behind you. Car behind you. Car behind you.
There's
Bro,
no
I don't
line.
want to argue with you.
Well, don't.
There's one in New York because when a lot of states have this, you have to ID yourself, name and badge number. So a lot of people have this script where they say name and badge.
I need a sergeant.
What's your name and badge number? And they ask for a sergeant or white shirt or supervisor or whatever. And there's one guy in New York who says name and badge number, and they say it, and then he says, "Good boy."
What's your name and badge number?
My name?
Yeah.
Officer 5 here. All right.
And what's the badge number?
442.
Good boy.
Have you seen this?
No, but I like that.
All right, Austin, find some of this good boy videos. And the cops know now because they've seen it so much. So they just look depressed when he asks because you recognize his voice. I've never seen the guy's face, but they say name and badge number, and then they just like, Officer Smith, 725. Good girl. Like,
Excuse me, what's your name and badge number?
I know exactly what you're gonna do. Go ahead and say it.
No, I need your name and badge number. It's for a project.
I want you to tell me I'm a good boy. Salty 913.
Good boy.
what is it's
Oh
just
my God.
so.
Dude, but that's another cost benefit analysis. Is it funny? Yeah, but does that cop then have you engaged with a police officer who could?
Some of them have good humor about it.
It could
have
go
you seen this
everywhere
ever?
from a laugh.
What's that?
Have you seen that ever?
I've seen a ton of those, but not that. But that is hilarious.
It could go everywhere from a laugh to you getting shot.
Reminds me of middle school when you use the joke like the "What's up, dog?" You know those.
It smells like up dog.
Yeah, and they're like,
What's up, dog?
It's that same face. I imagine.
Some of the cops, yeah, like
I feel like
it's coming.
I laugh about everything, so I feel like I would. In that instance, I feel like I'd be a good police officer because I just laugh at shit. And then, no, proper. Oh, sideways kill shot. Get some homie sights on my gun.
Yeesh.
That is proprietary. I did not make that name up. It is literally called homie sights, and they're sights that are designed to be put on the side of a firearm so that you can shoot it sideways.
Okay.
It is not accurate. At least I'm not good at it.
All right, Austin, you'll clip in at least 3 videos we got so far for you. All right, we're going to move on from this topic for a little bit.
I want to see him get tased.
Who get tased? He doesn't get tased.
Oh.
They threaten him with being
They
tased.
threatened to set the dog on him.
And it's just so stupid. Sometimes we talk so much trash on cops. I don't think anybody could listen to us and think that like
Yeah, we're bootlickers. Especially
cop
me.
apologists.
Especially me.
Especially you. All right.
Yes, please.
About 10 minutes ago, Gary, as our special guest, what do you do for a living, Gary? Tell us about what
I'm
you
a
do.
real estate appraiser.
Okay. So he was a guest with me on Brandon from Vegas' podcast talking about super boring stuff, real estate appraisals.
Hey, man.
So I Googled real quick. I Googled
necessary.
appraisal murder, and guess what? An amazing case popped up. This might be one of the craziest ones I've heard
Let me
of.
guess, before you say anything about it, an appraiser goes out to somebody's house, guy doesn't want him there, smokes him.
Nothing to do with that.
That's what I was hoping for, Justin.
Nothing to do with that.
So my buddies, I've got a good friend of mine from being a kid that's an appraiser in a couple of counties. And for the rural stuff, they're going out in the middle of nowhere. They're going out in the middle of nowhere doing these appraisals. And it's like, sometimes he's out there looking around. He'll knock on the door first, obviously. But sometimes the grandpa's out in the outbuilding and he's just like kind of poking around doing his general appraisal. And homie comes up and he's like, yo, we don't like your kind around here. Were you from the bank? One of those things.
And
It's
especially with eminent domain, which I know you did a lot before. Eminent domain is where the state, county,
Steals.
federal government can take your property and they have to justly compensate you. Although I've seen a lot that there's fights over that in courts, what's just, because no piece of property is replaceable, right? We learn in property law. So no, it's 100%
fair market
of what
value.
it's supposed to be fair market value. So they send out stupid appraisers that go out and say,
when they steal from you.
Oh, let me see what the calculation is of this property. Even though
It's been in your family since you moved to this country.
Whenever
3
they-
of your fucking great aunts were born here. It's only worth the same amount it'd be worth as if you built it today.
yes, there's. Yeah, that's why we get upset about widening roads or whatever.
Dude, I got a
buddy.
buddy that when they widened the 166, they gave him an opportunity. And they're like, well, you can technically keep it, but we could eminent domain it. We don't have to. And he's like, fuck you, no. And so now the highway is like 30 meters off of their front yard or their front door.
And sometimes the headache of doing it and the bad press, I
You
think,
couldn't
is
widen it
something
that way
they,
where there's no house. You had to widen it this way.
Yeah. I think they calculate the least intrusive method. Justin getting mad about.
I'm pissed.
I didn't want to talk about that at all, but you brought it up. Okay.
Eminent domain is so fucking.
We're talking about
Sorry,
murders.
Mr. Cox.
We're talking about
All right,
murders.
Let's go back to murders.
You're okay with murders. Taking people's property, though?
Don't do it.
Don't do that.
Don't do it.
Murder? Okay. This is the murder of Mike Williams. Mike Williams was an appraiser. So that's how it popped up. And I was like, okay, let me look into this. Mike Williams went out into Lake Seminole, which is on the Florida-Georgia line, which is almost which is also a country band of
No,
some
no,
sort. I don't even
no.
know what they are.
It's pop country trash.
Pop country trash. Okay. This is a lake, great for fishing, great for hunting, some other things like that. So Mike Williams is believed to have gone out alone to go fishing, hunting, and then he disappears. Okay.
As sometimes happens when you go out by yourself.
His boat is found, but his ID and his waders are found at the bottom of the lake. Okay. And then for a while,
Just the idea or the wallet?
just the ID, I think, just his hunting
Maybe it's one of
license
them
or something like
clear
that.
water lakes.
So no, this is marshy,
Like brackish
swampy,
kind of crap. Oh, that sucks.
nasty.
So they probably were dredging it or not dredging. What's it? When they throw out hooks and stuff to try to get the body. I forget the word for that. Whatever. They were doing that and probably found his crap. All right, keep going.
We don't have that out here. We have people who are found in the desert buried. In Las Vegas, it happens a lot. Okay, so Mike Williams' body is never found, so he's believed to have been eaten by alligators. Okay, there's a lot of this kind of hits the news because they have this death and they don't have like any cause. They don't really have any reason like as to what happened. So his mother, Mike Williams' mother, kind of demands an investigation into this. Very loud in the news, and then it's also very popular in the news because he's believed, like the cops had legitimately concluded in their investigation that he had been eaten by alligators, and that's the reason they couldn't find the body.
Carol Baskin's
Okay.
vibes here.
All right. Fast forward a few years down the road, okay? He was married at the time,
Case closed.
had 2 kids at the time, I think 2, had kids at the time with a woman by the name of Denise, so Denise Williams. Denise soon after gets married to one of their mutual friends, Brian Winchester.
Cool last name. Bad guy.
So Mike Williams and his wife Denise, Brian Winchester and his wife would hang out a lot. Okay. So then Denise and Brian.
He's one of those upside down pineapple kind of things.
No, there's no. Because Brian's ex-wife doesn't say that there's any of that.
I'm not just into that. All these stories have ins and outs, and it's usually this person was banging that person. And they wanted to just bang each other. And
it does come out eventually that Denise and Brian had an extramarital affair.
Shocking.
They had been sleeping with each other for a while. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They do end up getting married. Let's fast forward a little bit. Brian and Denise are having trouble. Okay. Typically, people who cheat on their significant other
Black Widow
seem to have trouble. No.
Brian goes hunting and never comes
Brian
back.
doesn't die. Brian is threatening to kill himself over this relationship. Denise is super upset.
I shouldn't roll my eyes. It's Men's Mental Health Month.
Brian,
don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Brian gets arrested for actually kidnapping Denise, holding her. Okay, domestic violence.
Holding like in a loving way.
Nah, maybe in his messed up brain, it's a loving way.
But it was napping.
But it was nabbing. Yes, holding her against her will.
Okay.
So a kidnapping charge, which you can get against your spouse, even. So Brian,
I'm kidding.
Brian starts to sing like a canary. Okay.
Oh, we.
So Brian says, "You know what? Actually, in order to get a better deal, let me tell you about."
You want to hear what D-Nice did?
What really happened with Mike Williams? Okay, what really happened? We had an affair. We had a relationship. Denise wanted to get rid of him. She did not want to do a divorce because then she would have to fight over custody. She decided it would be best if he died. So I was actually out, on the lake with him that day. I just met him out there. I lied to him and told him that my phone was dead. So I didn't have any phone calls at the time. We got out on the boat. I was just supposed to bump him off. So we went into the cold water because they were out there in December. He happened to get up on a tree stump and was kind of saving himself. So I put a shotgun shell in his face. And then I took his body and buried him.
Can I offer some advice to general stuff here?
Don't be an appraiser.
Don't be an appraiser. Don't work for the
She
government.
wanted the more exciting guy, obviously. The appraiser's boring.
If this is what the woman wants you to do to earn her love, boys, it's not worth it. It's
well, and
it's our summer,
and
lads.
her defense team the whole time fights against this. His testimony is never kind of conclusive and like.
Did they find the body? Was its face blown off? That seems pretty conclusive.
She's saying, she was always saying that it wasn't her idea, that she was the one that tried to back out of it, but he kind of took it on himself because he wanted to be with her.
I don't know if you know how conspiracy works. Anyway.
Well, that becomes an important, the legal aspect of this case. Okay.
Anyway, the point is, she's not worth it, boys. And if she wants you to do that, she doesn't really love you.
So Brian, yes, like,
Well said.
can we be more clear in that? Like, don't commit crimes. We always say
And
that,
she'll end
right?
up leaving you. Like, look, this guy thought he was going to be happy ever after. She got bored of him because whatever his job is more exciting than appraiser, but not as exciting as the race car driver she met. You're next, bro. You're Edward V.
I'm Ricky Bobby.
And I like to go fast.
Talladega Nights. This is all Florida. We're just all Florida
If you're
now.
not first, what are you?
You're last. Okay.
Hell yeah.
So this case goes to trial. Okay. So we got the trial of Denise Williams. Brian's not prosecuted any further for his crimes because,
Because he helped solve a murder.
He brings this and they say, okay, we won't bring anything against you for that.
So he didn't get any charges.
He had got his kidnapping charge. No, he was doing like 20 years. He was still in prison.
Oh, okay.
So he came to testify, and usually I see they come to testify
dressed in prison
their
garb.
prison clothes and their normal, so they can be distinguished from the general population. Usually there's very specific rules at prisons.
Well, it's usually
Can't
like
wear
blue
specific
jeans,
colors,
blue like a Dickie shirt,
blue,
kind of thing.
orange, something. It depends on the state. Red, like we kind of see them all. So he testifies in the trial. She does not testify, is my understanding. The defense kind of pushes a narrative. And so she gets charged in Florida for conspiracy and murder 1.
Yep.
Okay.
Death penalty.
She is found guilty of both. Okay. But then this goes up to an appeal because of the jury instructions that conspiracy and murder can kind of be duplicative. And the appellate court that reviewed this looked at the testimony.
You're talking the instructions are duplicative or the charges?
The charges can be like conspiracy can be consumed in a murder, right? Kind of, but
I forget the specific rules. I know that conspiracy can get swallowed up into some stuff, but the conspiracy to commit murder is separate from the murder.
Yes.
The three of us right now could plan to kill Austin and mean it, right? And then it's like, oh, how are we going to kill Austin? You're like, I have a gun and I have a gun. So I'm going to go in my office and get the handgun. You're going to go in the office and get the handgun. You're going to go out to your car and get the rope. We all come back here and then we say, probably shouldn't do this. Austin has 2 guns and doesn't know how to use them. We did not murder him, but we conspired to murder him, and we each took an act in furtherance of that conspiracy. We are at that point guilty of conspiracy.
But then Gary could go off and just decide that he wants to murder Austin on his own.
Right. Which we're all guilty of the original conspiracy, but he's guilty of the separate murder.
Okay. So the appellate court case on this one is just interesting because they look at the evidence, and it's kind of how juries can get things wrong. And the appellate court says there was no evidence that she actually committed the murder or did anything to plan the murder. She let him go on his boating trip, okay? But she didn't actually do anything in furtherance of the murder, okay? There was no proof to connect her from taking any action. And even the testimony of Brian wasn't enough to say that, she actually planned anything, that it was more of his own action. And I guess maybe we should talk about what is enough, what action is enough for you to be complicit and culpable of that murder versus actual actions. So
I am trying to find a
you have some case law here on this. I know.
Right. Well, I'm trying to
case.
find right now is one of my GPAs where it outlines like the way you can get caught with a crime.
The GPA is not just your grade point average. It's a
guilty
plea agreement, which for all felonies, if you're going to take a deal here in Nevada, you have to sign a guilty plea agreement saying that you understand the consequences. As attorneys, we have to go over it with our clients, and we have to sign it, say that we went over it with them. So guilty plea agreements are kind of become big parts of cases, and they are public records for cases that have guilty pleas.
So this one says, the defendant being criminally liable under one or more of the following principles of criminal liability, to wit, by directly committing this crime, which is what Mr. Winchester would be, and or by aiding or abetting in the commission of this crime with the intent the crime be committed by counseling, encouraging, hiring, commanding, inducing, and or otherwise procuring the other to commit the crime. done, cooked, and or pursuant to a conspiracy to commit the crime with the intent that this crime be committed. Defendant and or other defendant.
Okay. Well,
aided or abetted, yada, yada, yada.
For the
yada.
Florida Appellate Court, they decided that, because there can be actions that aren't enough, right? There can be actions that aren't enough to rise to a level of you actually participating in a murder.
Yeah, sure.
And planning it, but not participating in it.
You're getting into some dangerous weeds if that's your argument.
Well,
Good for her. Good for her.
Well,
I mean-
she got maxed out on the conspiracy for 30 years.
Maybe bad for her then.
The appellate court came back and said, okay, no murder here. Like, she's not part of this murder. The Florida Supreme Court denied to hear it. And then it came
Because the
back,
state appealed.
came back to the trial court, and they do sentencing based on these new charges and decided to max her out at the 30 years.
Oh, you want to
Okay.
go to the appellate court? You want to overturn me, do you? Okay, well, bam!
Let them cook.
Let them cook. Let the boys play, ref.
So, kind of an interesting case that we just
Did I
happened
just like
upon
a boot?
because of a what?
Does my mouth taste like boot right now?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna cut it all together. We're bootlickers, especially. Did I just
We're bootlickers.
You're
Dude, you should actually make it.
You're a bootlegger. She should have gone down for murder.
Everyone go.
So this is even a recent appellate decision that came out like 2021. So this is, even though the murder happened back in like 2000, December 2000. Okay, this is how long cases.
Man,
the investigation
he looks like a
takes-
nice guy.
Doesn't he look just like Gary too?
Kinda. No.
He was age.
But he looks.
He was
like,
age 31. You outlived him.
He
The
looks
dangerous life of an appraiser.
blasted in the face with a shotgun. Hey, this hypothermic water have really dulled your senses. I hope they're dulled all the way. Clack. Like,
Yeah.
this sucks.
And
training for that?
Do they ever deal with that kind of stuff? Like, hey, this is how you de-escalate.
No, they mostly just say, "Hey, when people try to bribe you,
That's they tell you where to put the money.
give them a different vendor."
No, cash, dude. It's all cash, right? Are your bribes all accepted in cash?
he can't say that.
No,
He can't
no, it's
say
not
that.
worth it.
No one has enough. No one
Well,
ever has. comes
Mike
up with enough
Williams.
money,
Mike
you know?
Williams was making $200,000 a year. So
Oh, in 2000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
He's
money.
a baller.
Hypothetically speaking, what would be enough?
Oh yeah, we have all had this conversation, right, and thought about it.
Right. What's
Yeah.
the general consensus that, among hypothetical questions?
Yeah, I went through it all, and I was like, okay, I'm going to lose my license for this, right? I've got to make sure that
Are you
I can
gonna go to jail?
Skirt the, what's that?
Are you going to go to jail?
Potentially not.
Okay,
Nevada
sure.
State has they have their laws, right?
Right.
Breaking-
AG will prosecute it. They can't prosecute cases
Breaking
to save their
NRS.
lives, so you're going to be
You
fine.
know, you're breaking NRS, right? So I just bet I was like, oh, just make it 7.
7 figures is kind of low, dude. Like $1 million is 7
well,
figures.
he didn't say low 7 figures.
Yeah. Make it enough where I could.
You could retire.
Yeah.
Because if you're
'Cause I was
calculating like 10% return, that's 100 G's
Yeah, I
a
was
year.
just like, okay, if you give me $7.5 million, I can
Who
put
can
it
live
in,
on $100,000?
give me $7.5 million, I can put it into account and we can make this.
There were some years that my dad didn't even make 100,000 or barely made 100,000. Chael Sonnen, you've never seen that? He's like making fun of all the other UFC
I've
fighters.
seen
that-
it a million times. You showed me it so many times. You have the same 3 references always. Wow, that got real. Okay, so she got tried in
My wife is
2018
dead.
after 2000. So this is a delayed case because they're looking into the case, and then this other guy gets arrested for this other crime because it doesn't work out. And it also comes out.
I said, everybody.
Did they discover the body?
Why do you have your thing upside down? You're weird.
I don't know. I don't like that.
Later. Where's the body? Did they find it? They found it.
Okay, they did find the body. 98% of his bones were recovered, very well preserved, as well as some of the clothing, such as winter gloves and booties. 2 DNA test matched. But that was
Does
years
it say
after.
that his face was destroyed by a
2017.
shotgun?
I
mean, if
I would
that's
guess,
probably good
yeah.
enough.
I
That's
would
probably
guess.
good enough. So it probably happened exactly the way that guy said.
Probably there was evidence enough of,
Bro.
to convict her. And one of the details I left out is they got a life insurance policy right before he died, and he helped her get that life insurance policy.
So another thing, fellas,
That happens.
ladies will come and go potentially in your life. Best friends don't. Think about that.
Best bros never leave.
Bros before non-bros.
Okay.
We're being PC today.
I like how you said
because
that.
Mr. Cox doesn't like it when I swear.
You know, I could read Austin's thoughts right now, and he wants to know, was an apology made to those Gators? They were wrongly accused.
Oh, snap. Gators were wrongly accused. Free my boys. Free my Gators. Man.
Don't say that word.
Hey, the Seminoles will always blame the Gators. Florida State versus Florida, you know, right?
Seminole wind.
College football, baby.
Blow like you're never gonna blow again.
All right, Gary.
Who is that? What is that? Who's that artist? A real country song.
Not Florida Georgia Line.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Cox. Get fucked. That's not real country.
I don't even know any of their songs. I'm sorry.
It's stadium trash.
I went to a concert.
John Anderson. Very good song.
I went to a
Wind.
concert by somebody named Jelly Roll, and it wasn't just a donut they put, but he looked like a donut. He did look like a donut.
He has a lot of face tattoos.
He just like talks. He doesn't really sing.
It's like rap metal, but country rap.
It was really stupid. Take that.
Supposedly he's
commenters.
very entertaining.
It was fine. It was
Who
whatever.
else played with him?
What's his name? Shoot. No, it was
Post Malone.
Post Malone. Yeah,
Malone.
My wife asked me to go a half hour before the concert started. And
Didn't she try to do that to you with Taylor Swift and you told her no?
I love you, Anna, but she's not much of a planner.
No. Also, Taylor Swift, I'm out, dog.
Sure, whatever.
I don't want to lose the
Watch out, Shane Williams.
I don't want to lose the 16 brain cells I got left.
All right. Gary, question. I grew up in Henderson. You grew up in
Where?
the purview of Las Vegas Metro.
Why don't you just tell us where you grew up?
Police Department.
Very north side of
by
Sheep Mountain.
How are the police? How was the police presence growing up? As I'm assuming, like you as a kid, you hung around, went in the desert, tried to light stuff on fire. I did that too. You did that. Everybody.
Yeah, the difference is I'm not in a big city. I still do that.
Well, I was in the city of Henderson. The cops sucked. What was Metro like?
I felt like when I was a teenager, I saw them more because we were out on dirt bikes and four wheelers, and people would we'd be out at 11 o'clock.
You kind of drawing attention to yourself a little bit.
Not that. They would call the cops on us a lot, and then we would just scatter. They would call the helicopters.
So drawing the attention to yourself.
We would find places to hide and never had any issues.
You ran from the ghetto bird?
All the time, weekly.
That's awesome.
Weekly.
I've never even done that.
Yeah.
I've had it called on me a couple times, but I just stop.
Do they have them out in your
county? They got them in Wichita, yeah.
Okay. In Wichita, but not Chautauqua County?
Not Chautauqua County, no.
Okay.
I had a buddy that outran a ghetto bird between Wichita and Hutchinson on a Hayabusa because the chopper can only go 160 miles an hour. That Busa can go 210, and it's a straight.
I want to be the opposite of bootlicker right now and say me and Justin, I think, 100% agree. Henderson cops suck.
This is what I think about them.
My job has made me now hate the city of Henderson.
What happened today that made you hate the city of Henderson, Shane?
So
anything specific?
There's been so many instances recently where I'm like, Henderson City is the only city that would prosecute a case like this. They're the only ones that wouldn't just dismiss cases. We go to Las Vegas Justice Court with some of our friends that are prosecutors, and they have real crimes that they deal with. And they're like, dismiss, deny. And then they accept some. Henderson has just always prosecuted just dumb cases. And did you know that if you're in Henderson after a park closes and you don't even know that park's closed, you could be arrested and go sleep in jail for that night?
No. Will be arrested. If the cop so chooses.
If the cop chooses.
So
they have it in their discretion. It's an arrestable offense because it's a misdemeanor.
This is on
It's not just a civil infraction.
This is on the City of Henderson website. And it's apparently there's some kind of thing called Advisor Smith where they rate these things. It has been named the second safest large city in the USA. This is why. And that's why they do it. Because they arrest people for doing nothing wrong. And they're tough on crime.
Ugh.
They'll issue material witness warrants. If someone decides after the fact, when they're a victim of a crime, that they don't want to participate, they don't want to deal with it for whatever reason, whether that be that they've patched things up with the person they were beefing with, or they're like, you know what, I just want to get on with my life. They will arrest that person and bring them to court.
They like to arrest people. Vegas won't do that.
Because Vegas has real stuff to worry about. I don't know, murderers and child trafficking and fucking fentanyl. Sorry, Mr. Cox.
Okay. So I just wanted to complain a little bit because we have a client who had to pay us to
Got
hire
arrested
us.
in a park for going to help her friend jump his car. I went to that park yesterday after I got off work before the sun goes down because I wanted to we were trying to talk reason to this prosecutor. Hey, here's the videos. We understand. We get it. But let's just be a mensch, right? Be a person here. No. Both directions you come into the one entrance, no signs, no signs, no signs, no signs. And as you turn into the park, you can either turn left and you won't see a sign. It's not possible. Or you can turn right. And if you look at the size 18 font on the sign that's 10, 15 feet away at closest, it says the park closes at 10. But outside of that one tiny little spot, which at night you might not see, if you turn right, you're not going to see it. Because the sign's going to, you know how when you pass the sign, it like bright lights for a second, and then it goes back to where you can read it? You'd already be gone. I guarantee you can't see the sign at night. So she wouldn't have known. And all she did was go to jump somebody.
You know, it's interesting. I grew up right by this park and it didn't exist.
It is a nice park.
It didn't exist at the time I was a kid, but it got built.
I'm going to go fishing there.
As I'm a teenager. And it's nice to walk around Cornerstone Park in Henderson.
There were tons of geese. The stupid Canadian ones.
Not too far from my high school.
They're cute when they're little, but when they're big, go back to Canada. You know what I'm saying?
I do want to clip in one more video because I just want to dunk on Henderson a little bit. We know Henderson cops. I know Henderson cops, and they think that it's all okay, which
it's not.
Is whatever, I guess, enforce the rules if they're rules.
Oh, I was going to play something earlier. It's a clip of Judge Dredd. You know that movie?
Yeah.
Where Sylvester Stallone says, "I am the law." That's what I think of when I hear Henderson.
And it's
only my mouth doesn't go like that.
It's such a small world. I know like all the prosecutors in there. I went to high school like with two of them. And then I went to law school with two of them.
Katerina?
And then, And then one I worked at City of Henderson Rec Center with. I talked about working at the rec center last week.
You guys were homies.
And that's where she met her husband too. Worked with her husband that she met there. So
nice.
She's newly working there. It's just a really small world in Henderson. I say that because in this video I want to clip because I am mad at cops. This is a Henderson police officer who I think is married to a girl I went to high school with. I won't name him, but we'll put in the video and see. This is just another.
But his name and badge number is.
No.
Good boy.
Clip in the video from this link, the 8 News Now link. This is a Henderson police officer who gets caught on camera pushing a girl.
Dude, I saw that. He doesn't push her. He yeeted her.
So, and he looks like a buff guy. Looks like an absolute buff dude. We'll watch it again. Gary,
I want to watch it because I'm going to get pissed.
So we'll pause and we'll clip in this video just because it pisses me off.
Good evening. A Henderson police sergeant use of force against a woman be called into question. Thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Denise Valdez.
And I'm Brian Loftus. Now, body camera video obtained by the 8 News Now investigators appears to be different from the sergeant's story.
Vanessa Murphy has this story you'll only see on 8.
Henderson Police Sergeant responds to a call about an alleged combative woman, and this quickly escalates. The 8 News Now investigators obtaining this video from sources who want to remain anonymous but are concerned about what they believe is excessive use of force. We dug deeper, and in this report, writes he believed she was going to spit in his face and used his open palm to strike her in the upper chest to redirect her body and the perceived attack. So we obtained body camera video to confirm his version of events. What we don't see is this woman trying to spit on him.
Get over to my car, do it now.
Let's start from the beginning.
Follow simple instructions, go to the front of my car, do it now.
She does not immediately comply.
You're going to get taken to the ground if you don't listen to me right now.
You shoot me?
Get to the front of the car, do it now. Turn towards me. What are you doing? Get on the ground, roll over. Roll over. Roll on your stomach, do it now.
Okay, let me.
Roll on your stomach.
Oh.
Well, so the problem is that you can defend yourself if the cop's going to use lethal force on you unlawfully, but you are not allowed to defend yourself with battery if they're just going to batter you. You're supposed to, under the law.
Then you get a felony charge too.
Yeah, battery on a protected person. That being said,
and you can't tell from his body cam about
if it wouldn't have been for that.
If it wasn't for that, yeah.
And I'll say this again. Sorry, Mr. Cox.
This pisses me
off. That cop is a bitch. That girl is like 90 pounds, and she also looks like she might be a little crazy.
Yes.
And he yeets her in the face, and then tells her to roll over when his knee's in the middle of her back. I invite that police officer to Syndicate MMA. Let's come to open mat, and I'll do jiu-jitsu with you. And I'm going to show you what it's like when you get held on the ground. I'm going to tell you to roll over. You won't be able to. Why? Because my knee's going to be in your fucking neck.
It always comes to this. You did. You were mad at me the other day, and you kind of.
I invited you to the gym.
No, you were throwing me around my office.
I didn't throw you around.
And you hit my elbow on the. You felt bad. You felt
I
bad
felt
right
bad 'cause I
after.
hit your elbow.
It didn't
What
really
I was
hurt.
going to do was snap him down and put him in side control, just because he needs to understand that he's not. Yeah, you could put him in side control. It doesn't matter.
Probably
the point
could.
being, this cop is like telling her to roll over. Meanwhile, he in the back video, you can literally see which it's their training. I get it. He yeets her and then he follows with the knee. Right? Why? Because knee on belly is a really good control position. But he's got her knee like this. It's not on her face. It was up underneath her armpit. She can't move, bro. She's already on the ground. Like, what
Does
are you
that
gonna
piss
do?
you off, Gary?
Yeah, because it looked like she was like, at least audibly, she's like, okay, like she was gonna listen.
She was walking to the front of
She
the
walked
car.
to the front of the car. She was like, okay, and I'm like,
And then all she did was like kind of halfway turn around and whack. Give me a break.
Well, that kind of stuff pisses me off.
Yeah, don't like that. Don't like that one
who
bit.
knows what she was doing before? I'm sure she's not.
And
the
let me
most-
guess, he's still employed gainfully.
Oh,
with
for
the
sure.
Henderson Police Department.
For sure. Yeah, they're doing an internal investigation. Is what this is. He
got
is
a
a
medal
sergeant. He is a
for-
sergeant.
for yeeting a small woman.
All right, this is a good listener question. Did you have a listener question? You're a participant, so you can't ask questions, but
You can ask a listener question.
Okay, listener question. What are some common legal scams people fall for?
Oh my God.
There was a text that just came out like that.
Oh, it's
a
the
ton of
traffic
people
one.
are getting saying, "Hey, you got a traffic ticket that you got to pay."
Or
a dude, I just
parking or a
yeah,
the traffic
a dude,
cameras.
I just took care of his traffic ticket. He's like, "Is this real, Shane?" Like, I'm like, "No, that looks like a scam." And then my wife got it, and I was like, "I know she doesn't have any traffic tickets." And
I
you got it before,
Yeah,
so I was
got
like,
it.
"This is a scam."
Yeah.
Another one I see.
They asked for my date of birth and social. I don't know why, but I gave it to him. I guess it was to confirm the ticket.
We'll clip this one. If you get hired for a job and they want you to pay them money for materials, that's a scam. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do not send anyone money for getting hired for a job.
Another
okay?
good one.
That is not real. You are going to lose that money and never see it again.
Never pay in Amazon or Walmart gift cards. If there's a place that needs you to pay money for something like the IRS, they're not going to ask for it in Amazon cards, Grandma. I promise.
Another one is check scams. Check scams. You've seen these? Oh, I accidentally sent you too much for that item that I wanted to buy from you. Send me a check back for the difference. Okay? That is fake. That is wrong. That is bad.
Don't do it.
And they'll call you. They'll have your phone number and they'll call you and they'll tell you stories about, now I can't make rent. Now I can't feed my children. Okay? Just
Sucks
let the bank sort it out. That will get reversed.
Hey, give me a
Just
job.
wait. No, it always gets reversed.
Another one, and I'm trying to say this without sounding like a dick. Sorry, Mr. Cox. They call you saying, "Hi, my name is Steve," but they have an accent that doesn't sound like their name ought to be Steve, and you can hear call center noise in the background. It's a $1 billion industry. They're targeting elderly people. A lot of times, like I've got buddies that don't get the calls because for whatever reason, their number's a new number. It's never been associated with somebody who's maybe older. Versus my number, I get calls. I've had this number since 2013 when I moved back for somebody named Denise Gurley, and it's always like senior citizen stuff. I'll get calls from these people from, I'm assuming India, Bangladesh, or Pakistan, one of the three, based on the accent. I could be wrong, and it's just like, listen to context. With that text message, they'll send you a URL. It's like if you read the URL rather than just clicking on it, it'll tell you things, right? It's not at gmail.com. It's at L4F something. It looks shady. Use your common sense. Take a moment, breathe. Even if which I don't know of any place that'll send you a text message, but even if they were, they don't need an answer right then. Read the thing, think about it, and then choose how you're going to respond. That's another big thing. You don't need to do a knee-jerk reaction. And B, the IRS, I don't know why I held up two. The IRS will not call you first. They will always send you a letter. That is the first way the IRS communicates tax issues. They send you a letter, and it's not at gmail.com. That's correct.
At AOL.com, because they're old.
There we go. The IRS has been around since 1913. A time-honored tradition that doesn't need to exist.
All right. Well,
theft.
Thanks for coming, Gary.
Damn it. Now I'm really mad. What are your thoughts on taxes, Gary?
Why? What are we getting in there?
Because I want to know. He's a listener and he's here. Let's hear it.
I live in Nevada for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have no state income tax.
Do you get as like pissed off as I do about that kind of thing, or do you think, or you maybe like a little bit more of a regular person?
A little more regular.
Okay. So you don't necessarily think that tarring and feathering might be a good idea. Hypothetically.
I'm a little more regular.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Tangled Rights.
Last episode of Tangled Rights.
Thank you for listening.
Stay
Peace.
tangled, dogs.